Saint Paul, The Foundation of Universalism, by Alain, Badiou. Prologue. Strange enterprise. For a long time, this figure has accompanied me, along with others. Mallarmé, Cantor, Archimedes, Plato, Robespierre, Conrad, and this is without venturing into our own century. 15 years ago, I wrote a play, The Incident at Antioch, whose heroine was named Paula. The change of sex probably prevented too explicit an identification. For me, truth be told, Paul is not an apostle or a saint. I care nothing for the good news he declares, or the cult dedicated to him. But he is a subjective figure of primary importance. I have always read the epistles the way one returns to those classic texts with which one is particularly familiar, their paths well worn, their details abolished, their power preserved. No transcendence, nothing sacred, perfect equality of this work with every other, the moment it touches me personally. A man emphatically inscribed these phrases, these vehement and tender addresses, and we may draw upon them freely, without devotion or repulsion. All the more so in my case, since irreligious by heredity, and even encouraged in the desire to crush the clerical infamy by my 4 grandparents, all of whom were teachers, I encountered the epistles late, the way one encounters curious texts whose poetry astonishes. Basically, I have never really connected Paul with religion. It is not according to this register, or to bear witness to any sort of faith, or even anti-faith, that I have for a long time been interested in him. No more so, to tell the truth, but the impression was less striking. Then I seized hold of Pascal, Kierkegaard, or Claudel, on the basis of what was explicitly Christian in their discourse. Anyway, the crucible in which what will become a work of art and thought burns is brimful with nameless impurities. It comprises obsessions, beliefs, infantile puzzles, various perversions, undivulgeable memories, haphazard reading, and quite a few idiocies and chimeras. Analyzing this alchemy is of little use. For me, Paul is a poet-thinker of the event, as well as one who practices and states the invariant traits of what can be called the militant figure. He brings forth the entirely human connection whose destiny fascinates me, between the general idea of a rupture, an overturning, and that of a thought practice, that is this rupture's subjective materiality. If today I wish to retrace in a few pages the singularity of this connection in Paul, it is probably because there is currently a widespread search for a new militant figure, even if it takes the form of denying its possibility, called upon to succeed the one installed by Lenin and the Bolsheviks at the beginning of the century, which can be said to have been that of the party militant. When a step forward is the order of the day, one may, among other things, find assistance in the greatest step back. Whence this reactivation of Paul. I am not the first to risk the comparison that makes of him a Lenin for whom Christ will have been the equivocal Marx. My intention, clearly, is neither historicizing nor exegetical. It is subjective through and through. I have confined myself strictly to those texts of Paul that have been authenticated by contemporary scholarship and to the relation they bear to my thought. For the original Greek, I used the Novum Testamentum Graece, in Nestle Allen's critical edition published by Deutsche Bibelgesellschaft in 1993. The basic French text, whose formulations I have sometimes altered, is that by Louis II, Le Nouveau Testament, published by the Trinitarian Bible Society. References to the epistles follow the customary arrangement by chapter and verse. For anyone interested in further reading, I would at least like to indicate two works from among the colossal secondary literature on Paul. Stanislas Breton's robust little book, St. Paul, Günther Bornkamm's Paul. A Catholic, a Protestant, may they form a triangle with the atheist.